My friend and her 2-year-old son came to visit me last week. She's a single mum, and we rarely see each other because we live far apart. I just moved into a bigger apartment, so they came to stay with me for a few days. Everything was fine at first. We had fun, and although I'm not good with kids, I tried my best. One morning we were all in the kitchen. My friend and I made breakfast while the boy was playing with a toy on the floor. After a while, my friend left the room to take a call and was gone for a few minutes. I'm not used to having kids around, so I didn't think twice about leaving him alone when I left to go pee. My friend was just in the next room. The door was open too. I also had to walk through the living room to get to the bathroom, so she knew I was leaving him alone in there. When I came back, she was still on the phone, explaining something to her co-worker, and the kid was still in the kitchen. But when she came back, she noticed a bunch of photos on the floor. I'd put them up on my fridge with small neodymium magnets, so we started looking for those but didn't find any. Knowing how dangerous magnets can be for kids, we immediately tried to find out if he ate any, but he just started crying, so I drove us to an ER. My friend was panicking in the car and started yelling at me. "Why do you even have tiny magnets in the first place? You should have told me about it before. Why did you leave him all alone?" I was driving and tried to focus, so I didn't answer her. Honestly, I just never thought about my fridge magnets being a hazard. All was fine in the end. He ate one magnet, but it wasn't a big deal as there weren't any others. I was relieved and said, "Let's go home. I'll take down the other magnets and see what else I might have to baby-proof for the next few days." But my friend was still furious with me and demanded I drop them off at a hotel and bring her things because who knows what chemicals I have lying around in child's reach. She can't take her eyes off of him for a second in that house. I tried to calm her down and reassure her that nothing else was going to happen, and I'd keep a closer eye, but she refused. She just kept yelling at me. I dropped her off at a hotel and haven't heard from her since. Until this morning, she called and said that she's disappointed that I didn't even apologize for putting her child in danger. That I don't care about his well-being because I don't like children. I don't. But I don't want him to die, obviously. And that I was clearly not even worried when it happened. I don't mind apologizing, but am I really the only one to blame here? I never have kids around, and while I did remember to put detergent and cleaning supplies out of reach, I just didn't think about the magnets. I could have done more and maybe shouldn't have left him alone in the room, but she has done it too, and I just didn't consider it. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Everyone sucks here for communication issues. She shouldn't have assumed that you'll know to keep an eye on the child while she's not without asking. Also on your part, it's not that hard to figure such small child shouldn't really stay in places like kitchen floor unsupervised. At least you should wait for her to finish her phone call or let her know you're leaving to bathroom, at least communicating beforehand while she's staying for that long that you don't know how, and that you're not going to watch her child if you dislike children. As for her later reaction about baby-proofing apartment and running away to hotel, that's a massive overreaction of protective mother. She was quite foolish for not ensuring apartment is baby-proofed beforehand. Comment 2. Not the idiot. It was her responsibility to watch the kid. I don't demand people to baby-proof their house when we come over. Even so, she should have said, "This call might take a while. Could you keep an eye on him?" Then you might not have left him alone. I fail to understand how the inability to watch her own kid was now your fault. I've taken loads of calls and still was able to watch my kid, or specifically ask someone to watch them as I took a call. It's not that hard. Of course this whole thing was scary, and he might just be lashing out because of adrenaline, but this just seems so weird to me. Watch your own kid, lady. Comment 3. Not the idiot. You cannot watch a kid all the time. Your friend is being unfair. Even mums have to pee and will have to leave their kids alone for a few minutes. You're not to blame. Moreover, you handled the situation well by taking them to the ER and even offering to take down the magnets and to further baby-proof your house. What more should she want? Now, for the update. Fast forward a couple of weeks, I was feeling pretty down still. I hadn't heard from my friend since the incident. My apartment felt emptier than ever without the echo of that little kiddo's laughter. Just as I was wallowing in a rather large serving of self-pity, there was a knock at the door. To my surprise, it was my friend, standing there with her toddler in her arms. I was taken aback, half expecting her to unload a fresh batch of accusations, but instead she just smiled at me. She said she was sorry for her harsh words that day at the hospital, that the stress and worry of the situation had made her say things she didn't mean. I was stunned but grateful. I'd missed my friend. Standing back, she let her son down, who immediately toddled off to my bookshelf, this time securely fastened to the wall and cleared of anything even remotely swallowable. He started attempting to pull himself up using the lower shelf. My friend looked at him, then back at me, and chuckled. "He's an explorer, that's for sure," she said. We sat down, had a cup of coffee, and just talked. About the craziness of it all, about how I'd never been so scared in my life, about how the whole experience made us reflect on our friendship. I apologized again for leaving him alone, she apologized for her reaction, and then somehow we moved on to other things, lighter things, her work, my new place, our favourite TV shows. Eventually she asked if she and her son could still stay with me while they sorted out their living situation, said it would help her out financially, and besides she'd missed my cooking. I think it was mostly the cooking. I immediately agreed, glad to have them back. I won't lie, living with a toddler is still a challenge. But seeing him grow, learn and explore every day is also a wonderful experience. I wouldn't trade for anything. And while I'm still learning, I've become more aware, more responsible. My friendship with his mother is stronger than ever. She even jokingly started calling me her son's second mum. In the end, that terrifying day in the hospital gave us a reality check, made us realize that we can't let panic and blame cloud our judgment. It taught us to be more understanding, more forgiving, and above all, to communicate better. And for that, I'm grateful. TLDR, my friend and her toddler are back in my apartment, and despite the chaos, we're happy. Can't believe I'm saying this, but I love this bizarre toddler-filled life. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. It sounds like you were in a tough spot, but you were willing to work through the issues and find a resolution. Living with a toddler is no doubt a challenge and can test one's patience, but from your narration it seems like you've managed to adapt to the situation and even appreciate the experience. Moreover, the way you've emphasized on understanding forgiveness and communication shows your maturity and ability to grow from difficult situations. It's great that your friendship has turned stronger than ever. Kudos to you for being understanding and forgiving. Comment 2. Not the idiot. This is a classic example of how proper communication can resolve most conflicts. You took the high road and accepted your friend's apology, welcoming her and her toddler back into your home. That takes a lot of strength and kindness. The fact that you're viewing the toddler not as a burden, but as a part of your life, shows your ability to embrace change and challenges. Toddler tantrums and messes can be tough to deal with, but it seems like you're handling it well, which is commendable. Comment 3. Not the idiot. It's evident that you've learned valuable lessons from this entire episode. It's not easy to forgive, especially when you're on the receiving end of harsh words. Yet you did, and that's a testament to your character. Your willingness to accommodate the toddler despite the challenges shows your empathy and patience. It's heartening to hear how this experience, instead of breaking your friendship, has actually made it stronger. It's a great reminder that conflicts, when handled right, can be opportunities for growth. Now for the next story. Background. My husband, let's call him Will, is in the Navy and he works on nuclear reactors on submarines. We've been together for 4 years, married for 2. We were at a small house party with a few friends of mine from college, and we were discussing books we've all read. At one point, one of my friends, let's call him Steve, asks Will, "So Will, what's your favourite book?" And my husband responds, "Oh, I really like To Unalive a Mockingbird." Then Steve gives him a quizzical look and asks him, "Have you read any books outside of high school?" And Will hesitates a bit and says, "Outside of manuals at work, I guess I haven't." So then I try to explain to Steve, "Oh yeah, he's not well educated, so he's never had a reason to be well read." We all had a good laugh, but then Will didn't really contribute a whole lot to the conversation for the rest of the night. On the car ride back, Will was pretty quiet. I ask if he's fine, and all he says in a sarcastic tone is, "Peachy." I ask him if I did anything to upset him, and he responds back with, "I don't know. I don't think I'm educated enough to properly explain myself." I tell him I hadn't told my friends that he was unintelligent, just that he wasn't college educated. He accuses me of minimizing how hard his Navy schooling was, but I explain that military education and college education are simply not the same. We continue to fight until we get home. I texted my sister about what happened, and she called me a huge jerk and said I need to apologize. Now I'm having second thoughts about how I handled this. Am I the idiot Reddit? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You're the idiot, he works with nuclear reactors. That's highly demanding work with no margin of error. I'll take a college education any day over that level of life and death responsibility for not just myself, but anyone in fallout range. He's responsible for making sure that we don't have a repeat of Chernobyl in our nuclear equipment. Heck, it puts him in the same class as Jimmy Carter, quite possibly the most badass president of the 20th century. In his long career, not only was he president, he also worked on nuclear reactors in the Navy, and with his team literally walked into a melting down reactor and fixed it. Eradicated the guinea worm, a really nasty parasitic disease, negotiated peace between Egypt and Israel, built houses by hand for the poor as a retirement project, taught Sunday school for over half a century. With work that demanding, it isn't surprising if your husband wants his relaxation time to not involve reading. If he's having to keep up with reading and possibly working to keep updated the safety and operation manuals for nuclear reactors. You owe him an apology, and it wouldn't hurt for you to learn more about the non-classified parts of his responsibilities, so you don't make a fool of yourself downplaying his education, intellect and level of responsibility again. Comment 2. You're the idiot. Let's put aside your husband's incredibly difficult job for a moment. On what planet does anything think calling their partner uneducated is okay? That is never okay. Ever. Let's circle back to the job. Do understand what it takes to get onto a nuke sub. These folks go through extensive testing to be even considered. Then they go through even more extensive training and education. These people are super smart. Their job is insanely stressful. I know 2 guys who are on nuclear subs, 2 of the smartest people I know. Not reading fiction doesn't equal being uneducated. Not everyone likes fiction. Also, maybe he read that book in high school and it really stuck with him. There is a book I read in high school which many decades later remains one of my absolute favourite books. I read a lot of books. It was so incredibly rude of your friend to make fun of your husband about his book choice. You and your friend sound like insufferable snobs. Comment 3. OMG, you're the idiot, and a huge one. Are you sure someone as educated and well-read as you are should even be married to someone as stupid and illiterate as your nuclear engineer husband? Per S. Unbelievable that you are so clueless about your obvious disdain for your husband. Let me tell you, OP, Bubblehead submariners are some of the smartest and best trained people in the Navy. They're more highly trained, more educated, and they go through rigorous screening and testing just to be considered for submarine duty. You are married to someone who is probably smarter than you, and you dare look down on him. Shame on you. Now for the update. 1 month has passed and things between Will and I are a stark contrast to the love we once knew. You see, after the party incident I did apologise, but it seemed like it had already left a permanent mark. He accepted my apology, yet I could tell the wound was not healing. A couple of weeks ago, Will was assigned to a 3-week submarine mission. It was hard to say goodbye, especially given the recent tension. The night before he left, we tried to have a normal dinner, but there was a palpable silence that was hard to ignore. He told me that he will try to forget what happened, but I knew it wasn't going to be as easy. During his mission, the communication was sparse. It was the usual when he was on missions, but somehow it felt more lonely this time. I found myself often glancing at the unread books on our shelf, a bitter reminder of the rift that had grown between us. Then one day, I received the dreaded call. There had been an accident on the submarine. An unexpected leakage in the nuclear reactor had caused a chain reaction. Will was one of the engineers called on to do some emergency repair work. He was exposed to an unsafe level of radiation. The Navy promptly transported him to a military hospital, but the prognosis wasn't optimistic. The radiation sickness was severe, and there were complications. I rushed to the hospital, hoping against hope that I would see the same man I fell in love with. But the person lying on the hospital bed was a shadow of the Will I knew. The radiation had taken a toll on him, his body frail and his spirit broken. He looked up at me with a weak smile, but his eyes reflected the pain he was in. I held his hand and he whispered, "I forgive you." Then with a weak chuckle he added, "Maybe if I'd read more books I would have been smart enough to avoid this mess, huh?" It broke my heart, his attempt at humour in such a dire situation. All I could do was cry and apologise over and over again. But the guilt, the regret, it was all too late. Will is fighting for his life and I am here, unable to do anything. I don't know if we will ever get a chance to mend our relationship, or if we'll be able to laugh about the way I embarrassed him that night. But I do know that I'll never take him or his intelligence for granted again. I just hope I get the chance to show him that. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You're in a tough spot, no doubt, and I can see why you're feeling guilty. It's natural to wonder if things could have been different if the fight at the party hadn't happened. But remember, you apologised. You did what you could to mend the situation at the time. You're not responsible for the accident that happened on the submarine, nor the consequences it had on Will's health. It's great that you're willing to mend the relationship and show your appreciation, but don't blame yourself for things that are out of your control. Comment 2. No idiots here. From what you've shared, it feels like both you and Will have been victims of circumstances. You had a fight, you apologized, but the timing of his departure for the submarine mission didn't allow for the healing process between you two. His comment about reading more books seems to be his way of showing he doesn't hold the past against you. It's unfortunate that it took a tragedy for you to realize the depth of your feelings, but it's not uncommon. Take this chance to mend what you can and show your love and support. Comment 3, not the idiot, but don't let guilt cloud your judgment. It's completely understandable to feel regret over lost time and missed opportunities, but remember that you're not at fault for the accident that happened to Will. It's crucial now, more than ever, to be there for him. His light-hearted comment about reading more books shows his strength and forgiveness. Use this time to show your appreciation, make amends where necessary, and most importantly, provide support during his recovery. Now for the next story. My 27-year-old little sister is getting married next summer and is in the midst of wedding planning. As we're very, very different and live on opposite coasts, I'm not really involved in planning, but occasionally she will share something with me for a reaction/opinion. Yesterday she booked her photographer and we were going over other people's online wedding photos together when she made an odd request. She insisted we take photos in which my husband specifically does not appear, just in case. Not girls only, blood only, bridesmaids only, without him, in case we split. I checked. I was honestly shocked and had to stop myself from suggesting we take photos without the groom then, since divorce seems such a likelihood these days, but it's completely put me off being there at all. We have a child together. We're married, never said an unkind word to each other. I see no reason to imply we would ever separate. Is this a sane ask? I've never been more than a simple wedding guest before, so perhaps I am being an A? TLDR. Little sister asked. We take photos for wedding album where my husband specifically doesn't appear. I don't want to go to the wedding. Edit update. Thank you all for responding. I've decided to attend and we'll see what her intentions are on the spot and if she's specifically singling out my partner. That way, if she is, I can call her out in front of everyone. If she's not, just have a wonderful time. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I only appear in one of my sister-in-law wedding photos. She had my son and her brother, my hubby, but refused to have me. Because she believed that, despite being together for 8 years by that point and married for 1, it was just a matter of time before we broke up and I wasn't to ruin her day. All good. Fast forward nearly another 10 years. I am her kids' fav auntie by a lot. They keep asking why I am not in any of her wedding photos, and it's awkward as hell for her. Comment 2. Not the idiot, I think asking her to have the groom step out just in case is hilarious. You should get her to elaborate on why she wants to exclude your husband and the father of your child. There would need to be almost limitless variations of all wedding photos to account for the possibility of people getting divorced. She is acting strange and needs to further explain herself. Comment 3. Go ahead and suggest to take pictures without the groom just in case. While you're at it, suggest pictures with your parents separately, as well as the in-laws. Just in case. After all, divorce isn't just exclusive to the younger generations. There have been plenty of parents splitting up after the kids are grown. Now for the update. So the wedding happened yesterday and it was surprisingly wonderful. I know you might be wondering how it went down after the whole photo debacle. So here it is. I decided to talk to my sister about her request a few days before the wedding. I was a little nervous, but I also knew I had to do it. I told her how her request had hurt me and my husband and how it had made us feel unwelcome. I didn't yell or anything, just laid out our feelings. To my surprise, she broke down crying. She was really sorry. She explained she'd been reading these articles about how half of all marriages end in divorce, and she didn't want to one day look through her wedding album and see my husband there if we ever did split up. She admitted it was a stupid idea, born out of late-night insecurities and wedding jitters. But here's the kicker. She also confessed she had been so focused on her wedding that she had forgotten about the people involved. She apologized for making us feel like props in her perfect day and promised to think more about others in the future. We both cried together, hugged it out, and I felt a weight lifted off my chest. I also appreciated her honesty and vulnerability during the conversation. As for the wedding day, it was beautiful. My husband was included in every photo, and my sister made sure he felt as part of the family as everyone else. It was genuinely one of the happiest days we've had in a while. For those who told me to communicate with my sister, thank you. Your advice made a huge difference and helped heal a rift in my family that might have otherwise grown. As for those in similar situations, don't hesitate to have an open, honest conversation. You might be surprised by the outcome. In the end, my sister and I are closer than ever, and I'm just so happy she's found someone who makes her glow with joy. Here's to love, understanding, and a beautiful future for all of us. Now, for the comments. Comment 1, not the idiot. Communication is key in any relationship, be it familial or otherwise. You did the right thing by addressing the issue with your sister instead of letting it fester. It's heartening to see that your sister was receptive and understood your feelings. Her breakdown was probably a sign of her own guilt and realization of her mistake. It's commendable that she admitted her fault and promised to do better in the future. It's a mature step, and it probably brought you two even closer. This is a good example of clear communication, leading to better understanding and resolution. Comment 2. Not the idiot, but I want to bring up something other commenters aren't focusing on. The husband. It's great that your sister apologized and understood where she went wrong, but how did the husband feel in all this? It's great to see that he was included in every photo on the wedding day, but did he get an apology too? He was the one who was initially going to be excluded. It's important that his feelings were taken into account as well. That being said, you did well by standing up for what was right and ensuring he was treated as part of the family. Comment 3. Not the idiot. This is a beautiful example of how a difficult situation can lead to personal growth and improved relationships. Your sister's admission of her insecurities and the effect it had on her behavior is a huge step forward. It's not easy to confront our own insecurities, especially when they lead us to hurt the people we love. Your sister not only acknowledged her mistake, but also made a commitment to change her behavior, which is commendable. Your relationship with your sister is now stronger because you faced a conflict together and resolved it in a mature and understanding manner. The fact that you both felt a weight lifted off your chests is a testament to the power of open, honest conversations. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.